Hello, everyone. My name is Ayla Dasher, and I'm a fourth year dietetics student here at the University of Georgia. Today, we will be going over GrainSmart, a curriculum for older adults looking to increase their whole grain intake. So the primary audience of this curriculum is older adults. This is because of the high prevalence of nutrition-related chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and hypertension in this population. Older adults are also at an increased nutritional vulnerability due to lack of mobility, lack of knowledge, and often lower funds. The ultimate goal of this curriculum is to have an impact on their functional independence so that they have more self-efficacy and more confidence increasing their whole grain intake. I chose this primary audience for this curriculum due to my firsthand experience with the negative effects of poor nutrition on older family members. So the main health and nutrition issues for this demographic are lack of knowledge, lack of mobility, as well as lack of ability to cook for themselves. These issues exacerbate one another, increase the rate of micro and macro malnutrition, as well as leading to other nutrition-related health issues such as cardiovascular disease and hypertension. While creating this curriculum, the health belief model was used as the theoretical basis. This is because older adults tend to have a high amount of perceived susceptibility as well as perceived severity of health complications due to their age. Along with these increased perception of susceptibility, older adults also perceive and experience a higher amount of barriers than other populations. With this in mind, we wanted to empower and increase self-efficacy for older adults when choosing whole grains, as well as empower them with the knowledge of perceived benefits to cue them to action to increase their whole grain intake. The overall goal of GrainSmart is to increase whole grain consumption among older adults by improving their knowledge, confidence, and ability to incorporate whole grains into their daily life. For the first activity of this curriculum, this was built on the Fink's taxonomy concept of foundational knowledge. This first activity was called the Whole Grain Game Decode, Bake, and Taste. The ultimate goal of this curriculum and activity was to empower older adults to be able to identify a variety of whole grains from raw sources and prepackaged items, help them identify health benefits associated with whole grain consumption, best practices for preparing whole grains, and simple swaps when refined grains to increase whole grain consumption. So as you can see on the left side, there is a yellow stamp looking mark, and this mark can often be found on whole grain foods. However, this is not always on packaging, so older adults may not know how to find whole grain foods if this is not explicitly stated. As you can see on the right hand side, there is an example of how one can tell the difference between fine grains and whole grains. Refined grains are often light, pale, or soft beige colored. They are smooth, soft, and uniform in texture. They have no visible grains or seeds. They often have a soft, thin crust and may have statements such as white bread or enriched wheat on the packaging. Another telltale sign if it is a refined grain is if you look at the nutrition panel and it has 1 or less grams of fiber per piece. On the other hand, whole grain items are often dark brown or tan, have a rough surface with visible flakes, seeds, bran flakes, or other visible grains. These often have thicker or darker crusts and may have words such as 100% whole wheat or 100% whole grain on the packaging. In addition to identifying whole grains versus refined grains, older adults will then be taken to a separate room where a cooking instructor will give a demonstration on whole grain blueberry muffin preparation. This is because whole grain blueberry muffins are often easy to make for those with limited mobility. They are also not expensive to make. The second activity in this curriculum is called Tasting the Difference, Building a Better Plate. This activity was built on the Fink taxonomy principle of application. The ultimate goal of this activity is to enable older adults to create a weekly meal plan that emphasizes whole grain consumption in order to eat the 8 ounces of whole grains that are recommended by My Plate. As you can see in the middle, there would be a table with refined grains and their whole grain counterparts. Older adults will be encouraged to try the differences and make a list of the whole grain options that they preferred. With this list in tow, older adults will then be empowered and supplied with materials to make a meal plan where they can now increase the amount of whole grains in their diets by planning ahead and implementing their newfound swaps. Activity number 3 in this curriculum is called Grain Detectives Grocery Store Edition. This is built on the Fink's taxonomy principle of human dimension. By the end of this activity, older adults should be able to come to see themselves as confident educated shoppers who are capable of increasing their whole grain consumption. During this activity, the group will go to a local grocery store where they will also be asked to bring a loved one with them. With their new meal plan in tow, older adults will be able to educate their loved one on how to identify and properly shop for whole grains. This will empower shoppers to feel that they can do this by themselves, as well as spreading their newfound information to others. Activity number 4 in this curriculum is called Grains for Gains, Boost Your Health IQ. This is built on Fink's taxonomy principle of carry. The ultimate goal of this activity is to get older adults excited about implementing whole grains into their diet as a means to see the health benefits. In this demographic, that can look like reducing obesity, maintaining a healthy weight, improving digestion, as well as improving blood work. During this activity, older adults will be given a simple anatomy lesson where they can see how the body is connected and how increased whole grain consumption helps not only their stomach, but also their heart and other parts of their body. In addition, older adults will be given a simple but scientifically approached lesson on the different parts of whole grains versus refined grains to show them why whole grains are better for them than refined grains. This would include, but not be limited to, the bran, the germ, and the ash. These all include higher amounts of healthy fats, fiber, and vitamins and minerals that they're missing out on with refined grains. Additionally, older adults will be given a mini lesson on cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and type 2 diabetes, and how increasing their whole grain intake can help lower their risk for these ailments. After these mini lessons have been complete, older adults will then be given a Kahoot, which will include a mini quiz where they can quiz their knowledge in a low-stakes competition where many prizes will be given out in order to get them excited about their newfound knowledge, but not stress them out. In addition to creating these lessons, a social media page was created for GrainSmart. This social media aspect was created in the form of a website. On this website, individuals can enroll in the class, find free online quizzes, free online activities such as menu planning, and other online demonstrations. Older adults can also find the hashtag GrainSmart where they can share their stories and share recipes to help empower themselves and others on their whole grain journeys. The logic model that was used for this curriculum included the inputs, outputs, process measures, and outcomes. For inputs, this curriculum requires a cooking instructor as well as an instructor to lead the class, computers to show the participants my plate and to access the website, ingredients for whole grain muffins, handouts to make the meal plans, as well as a projector to project any media that was used, as well as whole grain snack for the taste testing part of this curriculum. These inputs will be used to create the outputs that include puzzles, cooking classes, menu planning sessions, field trips, taste testing, as well as other health-related activities. These outputs added to the process measures will come out to our outcome. The process measures for this curriculum included program retention, post-evaluations, and curriculum delivery. The short-term outcomes of this curriculum will be increased whole grain consumption in older adults, improvements in digestion and satiety. Additionally, the midterm outcomes of this curriculum will be whole grain choices replacing those refined options, as well as weight loss or healthy weight maintenance. In the long term, outcomes should include whole grains fully being implemented and integrated into the participants' diets, as well as improved blood pressure and insulin sensitivity. The budget for this curriculum totals to $3,169. For insurance, this will be $84. The location will be free as it will be taught at a school, and the teacher will be paid $115 for their travel. Additionally, the teacher and cooking instructor will be paid $1,125 based on current rates of teachers per hour. The budget for the materials used is $610. This includes a low-cost projector, as well as the tasting elements, the paper and materials for the handouts, and the materials used during the cooking class. Chairs and computers will be free as we will borrow them from the school. As an incentive to get people to come to this curriculum, goodie bags will be given out with a variety of different tasting elements, which will total $300. Publix gift cards will also be given out to participants to help them start implementing their new meal plan. This will total $750. Here are the references used for this curriculum, and thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this curriculum, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at ald97450@uga.edu. Thank you so much, and have a great day.